Where do I begin? So, hey guys, it's your buddy Jake Dominguez, and I'm of course back with another movie review. Now, this is for a movie called Masterminds. Masterminds came out in 2016, last year at the time I'm recording this. It already played in theaters, it's out on home video, and I rented it. There is no point, really, in recording this video. It's not a new release like I typically do. But I have to review it. Because something good needs to come out of me watching this movie. So here I am. How's that for a start of a review? So yeah, here we go. Masterminds. So here's my review. So, where do I begin? Okay, well, Masterminds, here's the story. Masterminds is based on a true story, and it tells the story how a bunch of criminals and con men tricked this one guy into basically robbing the place where he worked for, the bank place or whatever it is, I don't know, and how they took all that money and divided it amongst themselves, and how this one guy, who's played by Galifianakis, the guy who did the actual robbing, how he went to go hide in Mexico or Spain or whatever it is. Where did it even go? Did they even say in the movie? Ah, shoot. I don't know. I'm trying to blank this movie out of my head. So he goes to hide somewhere, and like South America somewhere, and he goes and they drip him off, and hijinks ensue. So that's the plot of this movie that I explained very terribly. Does a lot better than the plot of this movie. So here's the thing. So it's based on a true story, but it's done very loosely, which is why I did that. They made it basically a broad, silly comedy. So it's really not, it's pretty fictionally told based on a true story, but the broad strokes of the story are true. I went online and did a bit of research, and there is a lot of truth to this movie. There is a lot of reality to it, per se. So, yeah. So, that's based on a true story, so that's cool. And that's the best thing Masterminds has going for it. It has a cool concept. It has an interesting idea that a movie could be made out of, basically. We obviously have seen stories like this before, but this is, there's something there, I think. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So, this movie is directed by Jared Hess. A long time ago, Jared Hess directed a movie called Napoleon Dynamite, which to this day is still one of my favorite comedies. I've seen that movie multiple times, and I still really love it. I think it's hilarious. I mean, I was such a huge Napoleon Dynamite fan. I had Napoleon Dynamite pencils. I had the video game. I think it was on the Nintendo DS or whatever. I had the t-shirts that said Vote for Pitcher on it. I bought the DVD, and I got the special edition DVD. I was a huge fan, and I would quote it all the time. In fact, right there, you can't see it right now, but there's a poster for Napoleon Dynamite that I've had there since, like, 2005 or whatever, when I don't know. Anyway, so I really loved that movie when it came out. And I still am a big fan of it. I think it's really funny and really original comedy. And I like a lot of other Jared Hess's movies. He made a movie that I really liked recently that premiered at Sundance called Don Verdine. And I enjoyed that movie. It had some good laughs in it. It was kind of funny. And unfortunately, not a lot of people saw it, but I like a lot of his other movies. I think he's an original filmmaker. He has kind of a unique brand of humor to him. And he always makes movies about outcasts or kind of weirdos that don't fit in and how they accomplish their dreams. Even in this movie, that theme is definitely there. I mean, so he's a good director. I like him. I like his movies a lot. So it hurts for me to talk about this movie, Masterminds, which is the biggest movie he's ever done. It's the biggest stars and all that. And to talk about how freaking terrible this movie is. Masterminds is one of the worst comedies I have seen in a long time. In fact, it's one of the worst movies, period, I have seen in a long time. In fact, Masterminds is more or less a failure in every single way. I mean, I hate to say that. I know that sounds really harsh. I hate watching movies and then having to pan them or whatever. Like, I don't like doing that. Because obviously people worked on this movie. They supposedly had high hopes for it, right? And they work hard. I get it. But man, this movie is so awful. Like, every choice they made was the wrong choice. I mean, it's terrible. This movie is not funny. When you watch a comedy, you expect to laugh. Simple. That shouldn't be hard. But this movie is not funny at all. There aren't even jokes in it. I am dead serious, there's no jokes. Now, think about a joke. How do you tell a joke? You have like the setup, and you have the building up after that, and then you have the punchline, right? You know, how did chicken cross the road? I don't know. How did the chicken cross the road? Let me think. Build up to get to the other side. Punchline, okay? Using the most cliched worst joke in the world, I can explain how a joke works. That's how jokes work. This movie, surprisingly enough, and this is going to sound terrible, it's going to sound so condescending, but I don't think this movie knows how to tell jokes. I mean, they have a setup for something, but they butcher the setup of it, and the punchline comes combined with the setup, and it just fails miserably. That sounds so condescending. I'm sorry, but it's true. There are so many times in this movie where there are gags or whatever, and it's like, okay, there's something in there, there's an idea for a joke there, but it doesn't work. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to use this because it was in all the trailers and stuff when this movie came out. When Zach Galifianakis' character is robbing the bank, he gets stuck inside the truck. That while he's robbing it, he's throwing all the money in and he locks himself inside the truck. Okay, that is a funny idea. There's something there that could be funny, right? It sounds funnier than how it is in the movie. But in the movie, it's not funny. They butcher it. It's like, you know that, you ever tell a joke or see someone tell a joke and they butcher the joke? Like they give the punchline too early. It's like that. There are so many concepts in this movie for jokes that fail. And it's just weak. And they weren't even that funny to begin with. And I can go on and on about this, but that's the main thing. If you make a comedy and don't make it funny, something's wrong. Like, no matter how well you do anything else in your movie, how it's well shot, the acting, whatever, if it's not funny, you failed. And the problem is everything else in this movie is pretty poor as well. This movie has a huge cast. I mentioned the main character and the main sort of person in this movie, the person who gets conned into robbing wherever he works for, is Zach Galifianakis. And Zach Galifianakis is truly hilarious. He's made me laugh so hard many times. He's a great comedian. Kristen Wiig is in this movie. Owen Wilson's in this movie. Kate McKinnon's in this movie. There's a bunch of big stars in it. All these people have made me laugh really hard many times. I mean, they're really funny comedians. But they're not funny in this movie. In fact, to be honest, I hate to say it, I found them really annoying most of the time. Like, Zach Galifianakis' character is so unlikable and not funny that it honestly kind of ruined the movie for me. He honestly got on my nerves. In fact, I found most of the characters really annoying. One thing I like about Jared Hess's movies is that he never laughs at the characters in his films. Yeah, they're weird, yeah, they're oddballs, but he never laughs at them, you know what I mean? Like, he always gives them their time to shine. In this movie, I think all he does is laugh at them, but there's nothing to laugh at. They're just all annoying and unlikable. I mean, Zach Galifianakis' character is a character that's in, like, kind of a loveless engagement, kind of. He's engaged to this girl played by Kate McKinnon, and she's a weirdo. He doesn't really like her, and that's what leads him to bring in this life of crime. So that in itself is unlikable in itself, obviously, and the movie doesn't know how to balance that. The problem is that they show Kate McKinnon's character to be just this weird, bizarre character. But Zach Galifianakis is just as weird and bizarre. And it doesn't mesh, so you don't feel bad for him at all. And it's just so poorly told. This is just a really annoying movie. That's the word. It's just so annoying. In fact, let's talk about Kate McKinnon for a sec. She's hilarious in Saturday Night Live. I don't know what she's doing in this movie. My goodness. This movie, like, have you ever seen a movie or TV show and someone has, like, their nails scratching on a chalkboard? It just makes this terrible screeching sound. It's like... This movie, Kate McKinnon is like that in this movie. I mean, I don't know what she was doing. I don't know what Jared Hess was doing in this movie. But Kate McKinnon's only in the movie for like 5 minutes. And she just was torture. I hated her character. It was so annoying, so grating. It was like nails on a chalkboard. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what they were thinking. And most of the movie is like that. It's not just, I mentioned earlier, I got off topic. It's not just that this movie's not funny, it's that it's cringy. It's one thing to watch a movie and have jokes that's not funny. It's another thing when the jokes are just bad and they make you cringe. Like when a joke is bad, it's really bad, it just fails. That's this whole movie. It's just full of bad, cringy jokes. And unfortunately, the filmmaking behind it isn't that good. I mean, there's so many it's not very well directed, which is unfortunate. I mean, I don't know. It's just... this movie is bad. It is really, really bad. There's a reason it was barely released and all that. Like, you can tell. All these people are talented, but they have nothing to work with. They're just left with a kind of terrible script and just nothing funny to work with. And I just found it really annoying. Sorry, my phone is getting notifications right now. Jeez. I usually, like, prepare really well for these reviews, or I try to, but that's why I'm like, this movie doesn't deserve preparation. That's why I did such a terrible job explaining the plot. Although, to be fair, I do a better job than this movie explains that plot. I mean, this movie's based on a true story, but you couldn't tell. I mean, the script is so terrible, you couldn't tell what's true and what's made up. I mean, jeez, I can go on and on and on. What else? My gosh, this movie is cringy. It hurts to think and talk about it. And even worse of all, let me say one more thing. This movie has some of the worst gross out humor I've ever seen. And it comes across as a cheap ploy. The gross out movie in this movie, it's terrible. It's cringy, it's not funny, it comes across as if they have nothing else to joke about. Isn't that the cliche? You can't think of a good joke, so you just throw in some gross out humor or whatever to make you laugh. In this movie, it's not funny and it fails miserably. This is truly... man, I could go on and on. Every decision they made in this movie is a poor one. It just doesn't work, and it hurts because I really love Jared Hess and his other movies. Now, he didn't write this movie, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, because the script is just so freaking terrible, but it's just so bad. The actors are funny in other movies and other TV shows, but they're not funny here. It's a huge lost opportunity, and... like, I was just watching it, like, shocked. Like, I was just like... the pain. Oh my gosh. And I was really disappointed by this. Again, there's a good concept here. There's good actors. We have a pretty good director. Very much his own thing, but I feel like there's something here, and it doesn't work. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just bad. I was so... appalled by how cringy this movie was. I'm going to give Masterminds an F. I hate to say that. It's an F movie. There's just nothing good about it. Again, there could be something here, but every decision they made is the wrong one. Just in terms of telling the story, I could go on. It's just so terrible. I would not recommend seeing Masterminds. Just go see Napoleon Dynamite again instead. I don't know. It's just... So, guys, those are my thoughts on Masterminds. I thank you for letting me do this video just so I can rant about this movie. I feel a little better now. Hopefully, I can let it go. So, have you seen this movie? What did you think of it? Let me down in the comments below. Is there anyone who likes this movie? Maybe some people will like this kind of humor, maybe, but I don't know. Alright. Okay. Guys, no matter what happens, never, ever forget, like I always say, I am your friend. You guys are the greatest friends in the world, and I am always going to be there for you. Never forget that. And as your friend, don't go see this movie. You guys are the greatest, and I will see you next time.